What are we discussing on today's Locked On Diamondbacks podcast? Same old story as usual. D-backs bullpen melts down and some questionable decisions by the D-backs management.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist, animal graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. On today's show, we are going to be discussing the D-backs bullpen meltdown, some questionable decision-making by Torey Lovullo. We'll discuss all of it. We'll power rank the D-backs relievers based on trustworthiness in segment number 2. Then we'll wrap up that podcast by discussing if Zac Gallen can go out there and win a pitcher's duel versus phenom Paul Skenes. So jam-packed pod for you guys as always. But first, I want to say thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms. So please continue to tell your friends. And one of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. I try to go live Sunday through Thursday after D-backs games. So if you're watching this live right now, please drop comments in the YouTube section. I'll read them as the show is going on. And also, don't forget to follow me on social media at CreatorThomas24 or look up Locked On Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram, because I always tweet before I go live. So follow me on socials and hit the little bell notification on YouTube so you also get notified when I go live. But now, let's jump into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. All right, let's discuss D-backs, bullpen, and Torey Lovullo lead to another loss, and this time it's to the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates. Major Awesome says, fire Lovullo right now, please. Andrew Pulowski says, Ginkel needs to go. It has been a disaster by this D-backs bullpen, and tonight it was the Kevin Ginkles and the Jalen Beeks that did it. It was some questionable decisions by Torey Lovullo with his bullpen management, of course, late in the game that also led to this loss. And it's so sad to see because you got, I got like a hair in my mouth or something. You got explosive D-backs offense in this game. You got elite Corbin Burns, 7 quality innings. You got a leadoff home run. You had a 5-run inning, and it did not matter. Despite the D-backs playing good in so many phases, the bullpen, first and foremost, before we talk about Torey Lovullo, the bullpen first and foremost was the biggest reason why the D-backs struggled. I mean, at the end of the day, you do need your guys to perform, and Kevin Ginkel has been an unmitigated disaster since coming back off the injured list. You look at his numbers after today's outing, 12.6 ERA. Now, if you want to say Torey Lovullo left Kevin Ginkel in too long, I will listen to that conversation. But let's first put the onus on Kevin Ginkel. And first, let's make sure he takes responsibility for his actions before we blame Lovullo, because Ginkel has been flat out bad this season. And he had another bad outing tonight where you're up 4 runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I was listening to the road broadcast of Pittsburgh. All that broadcast talks about is how putrid this Pirates offense is, how no one has gotten going in multiple games. And in what inning was that? The 8th inning, the Pirates score 7 runs, and Ginkel was atrocious. Now, if you want to say Lovullo left him in too long, I will listen, because I do think I wasn't upset that Ginkel stayed in as long as he did, because Ginkel is one of our core relievers, and we need him to turn around this season. And having a 4-run lead against the Pittsburgh Pirates, I was like, yes, if he gets some traffic on the bases, I'm willing to let Ginkel work through it. Even if he allows a run, I was willing to let Ginkel work through it. But once he allowed that Cabron Hayes walk and he had that 3-2 pitch that was like off the plate, and thankfully Cabron Hayes bailed him out with a strike. He throws the same pitch again, and you could just completely tell Ginkel does not have it. After he walked the bases for Cabron Hayes, that's when he should have been pulled. So if you want to blame Torey Lovullo for that, I will totally listen. And then after, Jalen Beeks comes into the game. Brian Reynolds comes up to the plate. Base is open. And instead of walking Brian Reynolds, who was 3 for 3, crushing the D-backs all night, what does Torey elect Jalen Beeks to do? Pitch to Brian Reynolds when we know there's a lefty on deck. Torey loves the cross platoon matchups, right? There's a lefty on deck, and instead we pitch to Brian Reynolds, who has been on fire against the D-backs all night long. He crushes a home run, and then the very next guy, Spencer Howitz, who is the lefty on deck, he strikes out against Jalen Beeks. Just bad decision-making by the D-backs manager, Torey Lovullo. Bad pitching by the D-backs bullpen. Jalen Beeks, you can just never trust him with inherited runners on. Anytime I've seen Jalen Beeks come on with men on the bases, it feels like he gives up a double or a home run or something to clear the bases every single time. And so once again, this was a game where the D-backs bullpen and Torey Lovullo led to a D-backs loss because you had Corbin Carroll come out the gates, lead off home run. That made us feel really good because Corbin Carroll, I think, was like 0 for his last 14 or something before that. His slash line, I think, still dropped after this game. The slug is still 561, but average down to 259, 329 OBP, and 3 more strikeouts. Corbin Carroll just fanning a lot at the plate right now. Doesn't look like the best version of Corbin Carroll, and we need him to get going. D-backs also had themselves a 5-run inning in the 4th where everyone got to go to the plate. It was great situational hitting. Gurriel was good. Naylor was coming through. Like, it was a lot of feel-good moments. Thomas and Moreno, like, it felt like everyone was coming through for the D-backs in that inning. And despite all the positivity from tonight, Corbin Burnes mowing down the Pirates lineup, 7 strong innings. He definitely started to wear down a little bit in the 6th and the 7th, but going against the Pirates, easy night for Corbin Burnes, who walks away with a quality start in every start in the month of May. He looks like he's starting to be worth the money. Like I've said, since his start against the New York Mets, I've been impressed every start over the last, 5 now for Corbin Burnes, where he's looked absolutely fantastic. I cannot believe the D-backs lost another. Well, I guess you can believe it because this has been the month of May. Meltdown after meltdown, flushing win after win, and the D-backs do it again. And they do it against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who, by all the stats and whatever you want to say, this is arguably the worst offense in the National League. And the D-backs bullpen, once again, was not able to slow it down, which is just insane. And at some point, we have to put some of the accountability, not just on Torey Lovullo, but we have to look at our GM, Mike Hazen. I think he has built a fantastic roster here, but the biggest issue for the D-backs since I've taken over the podcast in 2020 has been their closer, has been closing games. And this offseason, we lived on the margins when it came to adding to the bullpen with Shelby Miller and Jalen Beeks, but did we add a high leverage arm? Did we go out there and spend any money on the Kirby Yates or the Tanner Scotts or just any 7th or 8th inning guy who's had a good track record recently? No, we just went cheaper with the Kendall Gravemans, and a lot of those guys have been good, but not enough guys on the D-backs have been great. And if we invested in someone that was a supreme high leverage arm, maybe the D-backs wouldn't be in this situation. But Justin Martinez is thankfully back. We'll see how much he can help, but it doesn't matter if you can't even get the game to Justin Martinez. If you're blowing the game to the Pirates before you even get the ball to J-Mart, I don't know where you expect this Arizona Diamondbacks team to go. And speaking of J-Mart, let's power rank the D-backs relievers based on trustworthiness in segment number 2. If you are out here and you're trying to manage your money, then I suggest using Monarch Money, because ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, Online shopping and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, and now let's do a fun exercise. And you guys can always drop comments in the YouTube section if you disagree with me, if you want to do your own power ranking. But I want to power rank now the D-backs bullpen. I want to rank all 8 guys based on trustworthiness. If it was a closing situation, if it was a high leverage moment, if your life was on the line, which D-backs reliever would you want out the pen? We're going to start from the bottom and work our way to the top. Even though we might already know who the top is, let's work our way from the bottom and discuss first who is the least trustworthy D-backs reliever. And again, you're allowed to disagree with me because I am building in some historical track record here. I will not lie. Not all of it is based on what we've seen in 2025, because the number one name on my list for least trustworthy reliever might sound insane because his ERA on the season is a 0, but I don't care. Scott McGough to me is still the least trustworthy D-backs reliever. And you can say the numbers are good on the season. I don't care. The scars that he's left me, the wounds that he's left me, just so deep. Like I said on yesterday's podcast, I got memories of walk-offs from Ha-Seong Kim. There's just been too much heartbreak with Scott McGough. We've tried him as the closer. He has failed miserably time after time in those situations. And so even though the numbers this season have been good for Scott McGough, he's kind of in that situation, probably like how Cardinals fans feel about Kyler Murray, where it's like, you have to show it to me before I believe it. I don't care if he has a good month of May. Scott McGough is going to have to twirl that baseball for the entirety of 2025 before I believe he's actually a good reliever once again. And so he's currently last in my power ranking, but there is potential for Scott McGough to move up because that is how bad the D-backs bullpen is. We are at the point where I'm contemplating McGough as not the worst D-backs reliever, because entering the season, if you told me McGough was going to be in the pen, I think I would have put it in ink. He was going to be the D-backs worst reliever, but now he might have some potential to move up. Stock is actually up for Scott McGough. The second worst reliever in the D-backs bullpen currently to me is a little Ryan Thompson. And the only reason I have Ryan Thompson as the least trustworthy reliever than Kevin Ginkel is Kevin Ginkel at least has an excuse with his injury. He's coming back. Ryan Thompson is someone throughout his entirety of his D-backs career has not worked out at all in that closer role. You look at his numbers this season, save situations. He has been so bad for the D-backs. 887 OPS, 333 average allowed in save situations. And overall, Ryan Thompson had just been really bad for the D-backs this year. I know Kevin Ginkel has been bad, but Ryan Thompson has been healthy this year, and there's not really an excuse as to why he's been bad. His whip is 1.7. His hits per 9 is 12.2, which is just a monstrous number. He has a 6.75 ERA, and I think it's kind of been under the radar how bad Ryan Thompson has been this season, because we've talked about the Joe Mantiply and the overall bullpen being bad, but I feel like Ryan Thompson has kind of skated under the radar a little bit with how terrible he's been in 2025. So I have him second worst reliever right now in the D-backs bullpen. Third worst reliever is Kevin Ginkel, and it's so easy to see why after looking at his outing tonight. Again, 12.6 ERA after leaving today's game. His numbers this season, when looking at StatCast, the velo is down, and that is concerning. Last year, he was 96 miles per hour on the fastball, and the fastball numbers weren't like elite last year. 271 average, 421 slug. And so when it was that at 96, now his fastball's at 94.8, and he's allowing a 412 average and an 882 slug this season. And so he needs to get those numbers better on his fastball. The slider, actually, the numbers tell you it's devastating this year. A 100 average allowed on the slider, and he's thrown the slider 49% of the time. He's only thrown the fastball 42% of the time. So maybe Ginkel needs to be 60% slider guy, because right now it is his best pitch by far. Fourth best reliever in the D-backs bullpen, or fourth worst reliever, I guess, because now we're at the middle. Juan Murillo. I like Juan Murillo. I think he has a lot of upside in the D-backs bullpen. He throws so hard. I love me a high velocity arm. I think he has back end high leverage reliever written all over him. His issue is command. As soon as he stops leaving balls in the upper middle of the zone, if he gets a little bit more action on his fastball, a little bit more movement, this is a guy that could be an elite wicked weapon for you in the back end of the bullpen. He has given up a couple home runs, a couple allowed outs this year, but considering this guy was like not on our radar at all entering 2025, and so far he's been solid. He's got a 4.05 ERA, 13 innings pitched. Like, I like Juan Murillo a lot. I can see this guy sticking around. He gives Luis Frias vibes, but if Luis Frias was a good pitcher and didn't have those terrible command issues. So I think Juan Murillo is going to be sticking around for the next few years. Next up, this would make him the fourth best reliever actually in the D-backs bullpen. Juan Murillo, I guess technically, is the fourth worst reliever. Now we're on the positive side, the top four. Kendall Graveman. His biggest issue is he hasn't really been thrown into the fire yet this year, coming off major injury, not really pitching last season. The numbers so far are good. We just want to see him probably in more high leverage situations, because we've been very cautious with him coming back, and I think rightfully so. The ERA is good. It's like a 1.69, but the contact allowed, he's given up a lot of hits. That hasn't been great. Hasn't really struck out people yet this year. So the ERA might be a little inflated for how good Kendall Graveman has actually been this year. Like, the ERA probably doesn't match the eye test, but regardless, considering the rest of the relievers I just named, I mean, I guess you can make an argument for Juan Murillo, but in the short sample size I've seen, Kendall Graveman has definitely been better than Ginkel, Thompson, or Scott McGough. Sadly, the third best D-backs reliever, and I say best because a lot of these guys I don't think would be the third best in a lot of National League bullpens, but Jalen Beeks, he has to be the third best D-backs reliever if you're looking at the D-backs pen right now. And it's sad to say, because even though the numbers are still good on the year for Beeks, even after his home run allowed today, I just don't trust Beeks at all when it comes to like runners, inherited runners, and stopping those guys. It feels like Beeks in those situations always allow the inherited runner to score. And it's so frustrating because your whole job is to stop those guys in those situations. And it feels like Beeks just never gets that done. It feels like whenever he comes into the game, he always allows one of those guys to score via double, like we saw today, via the home run. And if you actually look at the numbers for Beeks this season, he's allowed the second most inherited runners to score on the D-backs entering today. So after today's game, I'm pretty sure Beeks leads the D-backs in inherited runners allowed to score. And so, yeah, not very trustworthy in that sense. And he's the third best D-backs reliever, sad to say. Shelby Miller, second best D-backs reliever. And again, I say that sparingly because even though the numbers are good for Shelby Miller this year, I can't say I feel great whenever I see Miller coming out the pen in a closing situation. How many times have we seen guys on second and third in a Shelby Miller save because he loves traffic on the bases? Now, does he have a 2.1 ERA this year? Yes, he does, but a 1.2 whip is pretty high. 4.4 walks per nine is pretty high as well. And you do look at his numbers and like save situations, and he does have a pretty high average in OPS allowed. Even though the ERA is good in those situations, the contact numbers and just like the traffic on the bases tell you he might be getting a little bit lucky. And so that's why I have to say, even though the ERA is stellar at 2.18, I do push back a little bit of him being an elite reliever for the D-backs, even though he's probably the second best reliever for the D-backs in 2025. I don't know if I would say he's having an elite season, if that's a better way to put it. And then finally, the D-backs' most trustworthy reliever, of course, you all guessed it, Justin Martinez. He's our savior. As soon as he gets back to full health, he is the only guy that could right the ship for this D-backs bullpen. But the issue is we have to get the ball to Justin Martinez. If every guy is going to just be absolutely terrible and just blow innings before the ball even gets to J-Mart to close it, the D-backs are going to have no chance. If you can't survive Corbin Burnes going 7 strong innings, you just need to have one good inning, assuming it's a safe situation, and then you could get the ball to J-Mart. The D-backs bullpen can't survive one inning. This team will have no chance of making it to the postseason in the second half of 2025, no matter how hot they get. So let's pray this D-backs bullpen can turn it around, or maybe we trade for an elite reliever, but I doubt that would happen. Now let's discuss if Zac Gallen can win a pitcher's duel versus Paul Skenes in segment number 3.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of 200,000 parts from 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SHF for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Let's see if there's any comments we want to throw on the screen before we continue our podcast. Hey, DeMar DeRozan fan said, this bullpen might need a revamp. I can't disagree with you, DeMar DeRozan fan. Yes, it does. Let's see. Order of the Sleepless Nights has a bunch of comments in here. Let's see. Which one do we want to do? How about this one? This is always fun. Playoffs? You want to talk playoffs? I don't want to talk playoffs. Order the Sleepless Nights, because as it currently stands, the odds of the D-backs making the playoffs continue to dwindle. And a lot of people tell me, a lot of my baseball friends say, the first half, it doesn't really matter. You just got to stay 500 till the All-Star break, get hot in the second half, and then boom, you can win the World Series. And yes, that might be true, but you look at the D-back schedule so far in the first half. I mean, they lost series to the Mets, the Braves, the Phillies, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Giants, the Padres. I mean, essentially every team that they have to face, the Cardinals, every team that they theoretically would have to face or go against in a potential playoff series or in a playoff race or just the weeks leading up to the wild card, they're all beating the D-backs. They're all going to own like the tiebreaker over the D-backs by the time you get to the second half of the season. And so the D-backs might be in a position where you not only need to get hot in the second half, you have to get so hot where you can't afford to tie with any of the teams. Like what happened last year, where it came down to the final game and we tied with 2 other teams and missed out on the postseason. The only difference is, I think in 2025, we can tie with 6 other teams and lose the tiebreaker to all of them, sadly, because we're losing that many series in the first half of the year. But hopefully the D-backs can get back on track with a series win against the Pittsburgh Pirates, but it's not going to be easy because it is a pitcher's duel. Zac Gallen versus Paul Skenes. And maybe I should not emphasize pitcher's duel, because last year, 2 years ago, 3, 4, 5, every year except 2025, I would have told you this is a pitcher's duel. But the way Zac Gallen has looked in 2025, this is my dude, the milkman, and he has not performed at the level that we've all expected, the expectations that we have for him. This is a guy that's been a frontline starter for the D-backs the last few seasons. He's been a Cy Young, finalist, or at least has finished like top 5, top 6 in Cy Young voting multiple times for the D-backs. And right now, he looks like a shell of himself, and it's not even like the Erod, let's give him a fake injury. Like, we don't even really like it. It's hard to really say what's wrong with Zac Gallen because a lot of the times it's not mechanical with these guys. It's like their fastball just starts losing effectiveness for some reason. Maybe the velo's going down or whatever it is. But Zac Gallen so far in 2025 has not looked like himself. And the numbers the last few seasons or like the last 2 years on the fastball, the effectiveness of it had just gone in the wrong direction. And you see how it's affected his game when he does not have the command of that fastball. It feels like he does not have the command of anything. And he has struggled throughout so many games this season. And the only times he's looked good in 2025 is when he's gone against East Coast teams. He's dominated the Mets twice. He dominated the Yankees. He did a really good job as well, or at least a decent job against the Atlanta Braves. Whenever he goes against these East Coast teams, he seems to do better. But right now, Zac Gallen's on a little bit of a 3-game streak where he has not performed well and has lost his last 3 starts. First against the Dodgers, where he went 5.2 innings pitched and 4 earned runs. And you can't give me the excuse, well, it is the Dodgers. I saw Burns dominate the Dodgers. I've seen Fott look good against the Dodgers. I've seen Ryan Nelson look good against the Dodgers. Everyone in the D-backs rotation who has pitched well in 2025 has looked good against the Dodgers. The D-back starters who did not look good against LA, Erod and Zac Gallen. Surprise, surprise. Then Zac Gallen against the Rockies decided to just start giving up home runs. He gave up 4 home runs to the Colorado Rockies. And then to the St. Louis Cardinals last week, he was cruising until that final inning where he gave up 3 earned runs, and it all unraveled in the 6th inning for Zac Gallen. It's been a season from hell for Zac Gallen, and considering he is a pending free agent, this is not the kind of year he wants entering the offseason. It has been down bad for Zac Gallen in 2025, but if he can go out there tomorrow against Paul Skenes, the phenom, and look fantastic, it might not lead to a series win because we saw Corbin Burns look fantastic over 7 innings and it mean nothing. But it would at least make us feel good about us moving forward and give us a little bit of hope if the D-backs can do anything with their bullpen. Because if you tell me the D-backs rotation is Burns, who has been cooking, Kelly, who has been cooking, Fott, who has been cooking, and Ryan Nelson, who has also been cooking, 1.69 ERA in his 3 starts in 2025. The missing piece is Zac Gallen. If he can start cooking with the way the offense has also been in 2025, you're just a bullpen short from being a World Series team all of a sudden. And again, the bullpen is like the worst in the National League. And so if you can figure out a way to get to a league average bullpen, heck, even a 10th worst bullpen in the National League, that might be enough for the D-backs because their offense is like top 3 still in the National League. Their rotation, I think, is humming if they can get Zac Gallen back on track. The only thing holding them back right now is the D-backs bullpen. And maybe it will get better once we start to enter the month of June, because a guy like Kevin Ginkel, when you actually look at his career stats, one of the weird numbers in his splits, in the month of May, Kevin Ginkel, for his career, has let me make sure I have this pulled up correctly. Let's go back to his career splits. Kevin Ginkel, for the month of May, for his career, 6.42 ERA and 40 innings pitched. Every other month, his ERA, April 3.28, June 2.42, July 2.93, August 3.36, September 3.14. He's an elite reliever every month except for May in his career. And so all we can do is pray that the month is over for Kevin Ginkel. We get to the month of June and everything starts to get back on track, because Ginkel historically has struggled in May, and maybe things will turn around once we hit the month of June. But the first thing we need is Zac Gallen to pitch like the old Zac Gallen and deliver a series win versus the phenom, Paul Skenes. That's it for this edition of the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. We'll be discussing the D-backs after the series, win or lose. And of course, thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.